Welcome to THS Discourse. Tonight we have a special guest. It's been a while since we've had a guest. We've got Nathan, is it Hennaman?
Henneman, yep.
Yeah. I should have asked before we went live. But he's your creator of Horrorhound, right?
Co-creator, right? Yeah.
Co-creator, yes. Horrorhound magazine, as we all know, and a lot of us, especially me, love the conventions, Horrorhound weekend. I've been there numerous times, and I miss it. Like most of us, I'm sure we all miss it. Do you miss it a lot too? I'm sure.
I miss working on it.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that. I'm tired of working on it. I miss it happening. I put together people don't know this. It's been a little over a year, but I put 5 conventions together within, from the winter of 2019 till now. And it's getting really tiresome.
I don't think that would be a fun job getting it together. There's probably a lot of stress involved, I would assume.
It's fun until last March when we had to dismantle it, cancel flights, things like that. It was the most unsatisfying experience of my life.
Yeah, that sucked, man. I mean, that was the first thing I thought of when everything struck. I was like, oh, man, I go to Indy because it's closest to me. And I which one's bigger, Indy or Cincy?
Cincinnati.
Is it? Okay.
But Indy was getting close. We moved into the convention center, and we were just on.
It was nice because the year before it was odd because it was in a hotel and it was like 3 different floors, and it was fun. I mean, Jared, the guy who should be here, Jared, if you ever watched this, we were going from the main floor, with the vendor room, I guess, down to where the film festival was. Never Hike Alone down there and all that stuff. It was cool because we'd go by the bars and some of the celebrities would be in the bar instead of at their table. It was cool. I love Horrorhound, man. It's my favorite convention, and I go to comic book conventions and everything, and this is probably my favorite. It's probably because of the horror fans. I got to meet Nate in person there a couple years ago. At that one I was just talking about, 2018. It was a good time. Glad to have you on the show.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the magazine myself many times. But the convention's the thing that really gets me because, like I said, the horror fans. This one of our fans says he misses his conventions. Well, yeah, we all do, I think. Nate doesn't, right? Nate.
I miss them, but I kind of move away from them. I went back to being a fan because I mean that's when you're working the shows. I mean, I even talked to Nate about that. I asked him, do you get to enjoy the show? Because every time I would see Nate at a show, I mean, you got to imagine I know he's had nightmares of like thousands of questions because that's what the job takes.
Sure.
And I once to ask you, and I'll let you tell the story today because I remember I loved what you told me. If you remember, I'm sure you will. I said, do you get to enjoy these shows? And you said you told me a story about your grandmother making dinner for your family. Do you remember that?
I do. My grandma would make. We had a massive family, 5 aunts and uncles, and for any gathering, I never once saw my grandmother eat. She would spend all day cooking and everything, and you would never see her eat. And that was the thing. Like I don't know when she was eating, but she was getting her sustenance by watching everyone else enjoy all the work that she had done. And that was like that. I think that's what I had said to you. That's to see the people excited. Like I won't say who, but there was a big name celebrity who cornered me at one show because something didn't go right and yelled at me. And I would talk to anyone else in the industry and they'd be like, screw that guy. I never want to see him again. And I was like, he was so good with the fans. Everyone had good stories. They went home. I was so excited about that. And I invited them back. So it doesn't really matter like the backstage stuff or the drama or all the nonsense that goes on as long as the fans are having fun.
Yeah, and believe me, we have fun. There's so much to do at these conventions between celebrities and all the vendor tables. I dropped so much money. It's ridiculous, but it's good because the horror community needs things like this, I think. I do have a funny story about. I think it was that 2018 year. There was I don't know if it was an Arrow booth, but they had Arrow video Blu-rays and stuff. The guy was blitzed out of his mind, and he sold me so much stuff, and I paid like $40 for it. You know, like specialty. Yeah, it was awesome. I love that guy. I came back the next day, and he's like, I remember you guys. I can't sell you anything today. Like, okay, I got everything I needed yesterday.
Said I don't want to take this back home. Sell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good time. Seth's never been to a convention. Have you, Seth?
No.
You need to, man. It's so much fun.
I know. It's a matter of like expenses and extreme social anxiety around large crowds.
I think
I want to go, but I'd probably be so fucking awkward. More so than
the way Horrorhound 2019 was set up, I don't think you'd have that problem. It was so spaced out. It was more comfortable for me than it ever was, especially after you got out of the hotel. Not the 2018, but the old hotel, which wasn't bad, but I did have my feels missing that one though.
It couldn't contain us, but
right.
It was where we started. It was home.
How long did you guys go there at the hotel?
2007.
Wow.
Through 2000. It would have been 2017 then. So 10 years.
Yeah, good run, man. I did like that place. I always parked in the neighborhood across the street and walked over because I could never get a room in the hotel, you know, that they were holding it. My brother-in-law got lucky one year, but no, there was the neighborhood would go in a U, and on the far side we park over there just on the street and walk on over, and had a blast. Always having a blast at those conventions. And you know what's fun about them? I could take my kids. My son wore his Ghostface costume one year, and everybody wanted to get a picture with little Ghostface because he was 9 years old and having a good time, and he thought he was just this big celebrity because everybody wanted to get a picture with him. So it's it's a horror convention, but it's also I think a good place to take the family, as odd as that might sound. Yeah. Right, Nate? You take your daughter.
Oh yeah, my daughter grew up going to Horrorhound weekend and working it with me and at my booth. And yeah, that's the thing. Like Horrorhound is like, for those who may not know, I first started working with Nathan and Horrorhound in like 2008. But I was in their like third issue with the fan art. And so I was pretty much a staple at the shows for years. And when you do that show, I mean, it's just their Horrorhound family. All the vendors, we all love each other. We all know each other. And so it's, like I said, it's hard because now when I usually go, I can only go for about a day, just a couple of hours. And but I want to go, but there's this tug of war thing where it's like, I want to go and I want to see everybody, but there's no way I could see everybody. There's no way I could talk to everybody. I feel guilty the whole time I'm there because I see like thousands of people that I know that I've met through the shows. I'm sure Nate deals with it too. He just doesn't have time to stop and talk, especially when he's working the show.
That's what's turning into my biggest anxiety coming back from this pandemic is that first show back. I'm either going to get, I'm not going to make it through the weekend going 5 feet without someone either stopping me to say, I'm so happy you come back, blah, 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 or say, screw you guys for going away. Like it's going to be one or the other, and it's there's a lot of anxiety about that.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas of when you're going to be coming back?
Oh, we're definitely doing September unless
Indy,
some weird, like, mutant strain starts turning people into flying monkeys.
So we're talking Indy, right?
Cincinnati.
Oh,
yeah, we have too much money tied up in the Cincinnati.
I get it.
We wouldn't be able to.
So Indy probably the next year. I'm hoping. I might make the track out there.
We're working on. There's a lot. There's so many stinking. You wouldn't believe there was for a moment we were doing a July show. We officially pulled the plug on that just last week. It's just too much work trying to get the September thing going. But yeah, we were looking at all options because people seem hungry for us to come back, but we didn't want to come back too soon. We don't want to come back unsafe. We, like I haven't seen my family in a year. Like I'm taking this pandemic pretty seriously myself. I got loved ones. I've lost 6 people I know, 6 friends, 6 people who've passed away from the virus during the last year, and
sorry to hear that.
I couldn't start counting how many I know that was hospitalized. So I've taken it very seriously, and I don't want to rush back unless we know it's safe. And so I feel like September, everything that's going with the vaccines, I feel confident that we're safe enough, you know?
Yeah, and I've seen other cons going through this, really, and you probably know who I'm talking about, and I'm like, what are they thinking? Especially last year, they were going through it. I'm like, what is going on? I would not go to a con in this environment, but people still went, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I may have to make a trek out. I haven't traveled in over a year, just like most people, so maybe that'll be the thing to do.
The frustrating thing, we've been doing Cincinnati since 2009, and we started out at the hotel across from the convention center. There's a hotel over there, and the very first show, I actually got married at that hotel after the show had ended, and that hotel went to crap. Like, no one wants to stay there. I love the hotel because it's where I got married. It's, you know, where we cut our teeth in Cincinnati. And the new owners, they've been trying to square away all the funding, the remodel. They finally got it, multi-million-dollar new elevators, everything. Like, it's almost too glamorous for us. I went and did a walk through a couple like 2 months ago, and it's so heartbreaking because they were rushing to finish the remodel for our show in March of last year, and they because of what was going on in China. The furniture they ordered was delayed, and they had to do a special furniture order for every room, all the beds and the dressers. They paid twice as much money to rush it to completion just for our event, and then the event shuts down, and then their entire industry shuts down for a year, and I'm just like,
that's messed up.
Oh, man, their elevators were always breaking. Was it you? I know this happened. I think you were with them. Were you the one that was in the elevator with Tom Savini when it broke down? You got stuck.
Oh, yeah.
He got y'all out.
He pried it open. It was me and Trevor, and Savini, and he got agitated. He pulled it open. We were halfway through floors, and he's like, "Help me out!" And I'm like, "Tom, didn't you work on movies where this goes wrong?" And he got out, and he's like, "Come on!" And we're like, "Oh."
Leave it to Tom Savini to save people.
Yeah, that show, that 2009 show, I'd forgotten you got married at that one. That was when I premiered my first movie there. Like, Horrorhound has not only given me, like I've said this before, Nathan's who gave me my first shot in the horror genre, because I was on the trajectory of being a comic book creator, and that's what I've been doing for 10 years. And then I walked into Borders and bought Horrorhound magazine, the second issue. And I just loved the magazine. I thought it was one of the best magazines. I mean, it spoke directly to the fans. Like,
it does, yeah. I love it. It
was so fan oriented. It didn't talk down to the fans. I always loved. Nathan always said something I really respected. He said, instead of getting just handing an article to any writer, he would want to find somebody who really loves that film or whatever to give it love. Like, because you read some magazines and you guys just shitting all over a movie, and you're like, why would they let that guy write that article? Nathan was like, I'm going to give it to like the biggest Critters fan in the world and have him write that article.
Yeah.
I said, that just makes great sense, because these magazines are geared towards fans, and no one wants to read somebody tell you how shitty their movie that they love is, and they want to.
Well, it doesn't make sense if you're going to give Amityville Horror 6 pages in your magazine. It should deserve the 6 pages. Someone's gonna read it. Who picks up an article and says, "Oh, I can't wait to see how they shit on this movie"?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was what I got from reading Horrorhound. Was like, I just saw love. I was discovering things I didn't even know about, because I wasn't really, social media was still a little new at the time.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't informed on everything. I wasn't on the forums or anything. So I was discovering stuff in that magazine.
It was funny. Because of the pandemic, all of our magazines got totally my plans were destroyed. We had a Candyman issue, we had a Kong versus Godzilla issue. Like we always themed based on movies that were coming out. And I was in disarray. I didn't know what to do about all of our planning. So we had to get through a few issues, and I had mapped out. I was like, we're not going to worry about films anymore. We're just going to come up with cool themes. And the Critters is a VHS issue, so the whole issue is the VHS themed. It's got tons of I don't think I showed it to you, Nate. The final article, we did a promo article. It's just all the coolest VHS promo items. Yeah. We only did a sidebar of the standees that you've been doing in your room back there, but I had wanted to do a video game issues, and we did this. It's an all video game issue, and when I was trying to figure out, like we always do a retrospective that's nothing but merchandise and tells the history. Yeah. What you said, I was like, I don't know anyone that's a Castlevania fan.
Should have called me.
I think you came to me with that one. You said, "Are you a fan of Castlevania?" And I was like,
no, I was trying to see if I could get you to do the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to trick him. Well, I'm going to trick him. He's going to say he loves Castlevania, and then I'm going to say, "Well," and then you're like, "No, I'm not a big fan." I'm like, "All right."
I would have done it because I've always said this, like, I don't have to be a fan. Like, the first thing I did for you guys was Creepshow, and I'm not the world's biggest Creepshow fan, but you gave me this Creepshow job, and I was like, I'm going to just try to kick ass on this thing. And before I knew it, you're like, hey, Aaron Crowell, he wants you to do art for the next issue for his article. And then it just that's where I became a staff member. And, it just kind of changed everything. And it really opened up so many doors. I mean, Scream Factory and Fright Rags, NECA, I think all that shit came from Horrorhound and being exposed in there. And
you owe him your life.
I owe him so much. And again, you gave me a platform to show my premiere, my films, and that was what was really cool about being part of that Horrorhound family. And I remember talking to Fred Vogel at Horrorhound at the Cincinnati show. He was across from me, and Fred was saying, we were looking around at all the vendors and all the artists and filmmakers, all these people who kind of started, like Sean Clark, and a lot of these people who were part of that Horrorhound family. The artists, the people who went on to be filmmakers or whatever, you've had a lot of people come through your doors who've gone on to other things. And, and just in general, all the people who would be guests at your show or vendors at your show have gone on or grown and grown and grown. And their booths get bigger and bigger and their products get bigger and bigger and they get more popular and more known. And, Fred and I were just saying, this is really cool to see how far, so-and-so's come, or how, like, just see how people are doing this and flourishing. And that's still the cool thing, to go to Horrorhound and see those same faces and those same people, but they're just still doing it, man. They're still kicking ass. And that was the hardest thing about the whole pandemic, was like, I hate that so many people rely on that in some ways. And I wonder how they're doing. I'm hoping they're doing well.
Yeah. When we were talking about the Indianapolis show, we just had a conference call earlier this week with the convention center and my sales reps and stuff. And we're just discussing we had great plans to pivot from 2019 to 2020 to 2021. I mean, the stuff we had, we were going to have the Last Drive-In Live on stage with Joe Bob.
Really?
That's not happening because of the pandemic. No, we had great stuff scheduled for the growth, and we're talking, and that was one of the points we made. We're like, we don't even know how many of our vendors are not going to, or even be in business, but did they survive? Like, yeah. It's one of those unfortunate things where I wish I could have stayed in contact with every single one of them, but we went from March being canceled to moving it to May. We just kept delaying it because the government, and not to start that talk, but they kept pushing the ball just 3 weeks at a time. You didn't know this was going to be a year later thing. You didn't know at that, when it started. So it was one of those things where I kind of went into hermit mode and duck and cover mode after a while. It started getting, I've developed issues.
Yeah, I went through that myself. I just kind of shut down because I was in the middle of filming a movie. I had just shot like 35% of the movie, and then that happens, and I'm like, like you said, what's going to happen? Are we going to lose people? Or I had children in the film. Are they going to hit puberty? All these things where you're like, what do I do? And I kind of did just turn everything off, and like it was calming, but at the same time, it brought a lot of guilt. Like, because you just like, why am I not talking to people? But I think it was more like, I don't want to face, and maybe that's what you were feeling too. Like, I don't want to face because you put all that guilt on yourself, even though it's totally out of your control.
Well, it took a long time for me to stop blaming myself for what was happening.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was trying to fix it and it wasn't getting fixed. And it was really rough, and I think one of the interesting things that, I think Lexington, Comic-Con, Monster Mania, and us were the first three. To me, they were the first three. We were the first three shows out of the gate that got shut down. Other shows maybe didn't have. I'm not saying they didn't have the money invested yet, but there's a certain point where flights have to be bought, ads and billboards are purchased. The merchandise is purchased, the VIP packs, the T-shirts, all that stuff. You got to pay for it all. We were a week out, and Monster Mania was a week out, and Lexington was a week out. So it was one of those things where we were struggling to pivot. That you on top of all the other feelings of guilt or trying to save it or trying to fix it, you're also like, people don't realize what you're going through with this other stuff, and you suddenly get emails from people saying, "Oh, you guys can't tough this out. Like, man up, blah blah blah." And you're reading these messages from fans, and you're just like, they don't know what we're going through, and they didn't, because it was still March. By May they calmed down. They're seeing the full picture now, and they're like, everything's calmed down. But in March, when it first hit, we were the first bad news for them,
Yeah.
And so I think Dave Hagen from Monster Mania, I've not talked to him. I'd love to talk to him and see what he dealt with. But I would be willing to bet he was dealing with a little bit of the same thing, because we were the first bad news.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I remember Monster Mania being the first one to go, because it was right. I think it may have been the weekend before or 2 weekends before, maybe. Yeah. Horrorhound. I remember a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, screw it, we're gonna go anyway." And then the news came out shortly after. They were all like, "We're gonna rough it," and oh nope, you're not gonna do anything. we're closing down. I can't imagine it was easy either.
I felt worse for him and for Lexington, because we got a gunshot to the back of the head. They got tortured first. They lost their entire guest list as they were still trying to hold on. That was the interesting thing, is that they literally were taking cancellation after cancellation after cancellation. They're announcing online and getting beat up for all the cancellations. And then they got the rug pulled out from them. I got a phone call the night before it got officially announced by the governor that, hey, I think the convention center is like, hey, I think they're gonna pull the plug on you guys tomorrow. And within like 3 hours of that phone call, I had celebrity after celebrity calling and saying, hey, I hate to do this. And I'm like, don't worry. I already got the bad news. It's all over with. So that was when I started feeling like, well, at least we didn't have to go through that week of pain or 2 weeks of pain that some of the other shows did.
One of our people on our live stream says they were on their way to Cherry Hill when it was canceled. That sucks. I'm sorry. That sucks. Yeah, I mean, we had to roll with the punches last year, and conventions was, and God, everybody I've talked to in the horror community, that's one of the things they mention they miss the most is it's not new movies coming out or going to the theater. It's going to the horror conventions, the Horrorhounds and the Monster Manias, and the other one up in Chicago that just happened the other day. Still blows my mind. But you guys just recently had a virtual con in March, didn't you?
Yeah, we started pivoting. Because we do the film festivals, we have a lot of filmmakers who had a lot invested in having their film selected last year. So when the March show got postponed to May, we immediately started worrying. I was so excited. That was like the best day ever. Right? We were able to find a May date. And then like 2 days after that, I was like, what if May doesn't happen? And the first thing we started thinking of was the film festival. We can't not do it. So we started working. The film festival we do that's live, it's like a live stream for 3 days. It's completely custom built. My partner, Jeremy, he developed the entire system, live.horrorhound.com. But it's completely original design. And the only reason we did that was we had this great idea that we wanted to carry it over in the live shows when they return. And so that's our usual plan is when you buy a ticket to Horrorhound weekend, you can't see all the Q&As, you can't see all the film. So the eventuality is that we'll be able to do like a week or two after the show, all the Q&As that will be recorded and all the films that we screened will screen on a live stream. So if you got to go to the show and you missed anything, you can catch it 2 weeks later.
That's cool.
So because of that, we kept going with the virtual fest because we just wanted to kind of establish it, build it up, and also we're tinkering with it in behind the scenes to make sure that the system's working. So when we do the next level,
that noise. Is that you?
That's they're chopping out trees in my freaking neighborhood.
Oh.
They've been doing it for 2 days straight and work until dark. It's ridiculous. It's actually Leatherface outside my door. Well, I think that's cool that you guys are. Oh, Jared just texted me, trying to keep up, man. I'm just so happy to hear, even though it's in Cincinnati, that
it's not that long of a drive.
I live in St. Louis. For me, it's Indianapolis is almost on my doorstep. You know, it's like 3-hour drive. Cincinnati's probably maybe 6 or 7.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. If Nate goes, I'll go.
When is it Cincinnati? When is the Cincinnati show?
It's my birthday weekend, September 10th through the
September 10th.
Plenty of time to plan.
So
remember planning things?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll wait that week and see. So as far as like, how did the whole horror? I know I remember a little bit talking to you about this. Like, how did
right back? Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
How did Horrorhound begin? I mean, for those who don't, I mean, I'm sure you talked about it before. You started it with your cousin Jeremy, right? And Aaron, right? The three of you guys were the kind of the.
Yeah, I worked at Tomart Publishing, so we were doing Action Figure Digest magazine and other. I did a Disney magazine and things like that, and I spent every weekend at my cousin Jeremy's house. We'd watch horror movies all weekend, and he basically just kept pitching ideas for businesses. He just wanted to start a business with me. And there was one point he wanted to start an online auction business because he thought this new thing, eBay, was so cool, and he thought we could do one. No, he wanted to do a T-shirt business. I pitched him a business once. I said, I have this idea. I swear to God, this is real. I had an idea. I wanted to call it realeats.com. And I wanted to have it to where you could review like McDonald's or Wendy's, but not as a whole, like specifically the location at your house, like in your street. I was like, that way you can keep the restaurants that are local to you, that, you know, they're going to be like getting reviews and images posted about them, so they know that they need to step it up because their food's not real compared to what it's supposed to look like. And Jeremy didn't like the idea, and then like 3 years later, Yelp came out.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, I was ahead of that one. But one day he's like, let's just do a magazine. And I said, well, I work on 2 magazines. And he says, that's fine. Do what you know, right? And we had just done. Aaron and I had written a book called Tomart's Guide to Horror Movie Collectibles. And we were so excited about doing that book. We started doing convention. I didn't know about horror conventions. There was Cinema Wasteland launched in 2000 up in Cleveland, and we went to the first show and immediately fell in love with going. And we started doing vending when our book came out, and I started writing for a little short-lived magazine called 1313, and So when Jeremy said, let's start a magazine, and I said, well, the only magazine I'd do is horror wrestling, and I wouldn't touch wrestling because there's too many of them. And he's like, perfect, let's do a horror magazine. And I just jokingly replied, cool, we'll call it Horrorhound. And he's like, done. And
it was a joke.
No, I immediately said that. And I went home and thought on it, and I went to work the next day, and I went on GoDaddy and I typed in horrorhound.com to see if it was even available, and it was. And I almost crapped my pants, and I bought it immediately. And I was just, after I bought it, I said, I guess that's it. I guess we're doing it. And it was funny because like 2 days later, I got an email from some guy cussing me out, just cussing me out. He had been watching I guess the horrorhound.com domain had been bought and had been, stuck in limbo for a long time. And some guy was waiting for it to become available. And I had Googled it or, searched it on GoDaddy the very day it became available, and I snagged it. And he said that I had sniped it from him.
So was somebody camping on it, and you got it as soon as it was released? And
apparently.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so this guy, after cussing me out in this email, says he offers me, I forget how much, it could have been a couple hundred, could have been $1,000, whatever. He offered to buy it off of me. And I was so cocky, I replied, I'll never forget, I replied, that's okay. I'm going to hold on to it. Trust me, I'm going to do more with it than you ever will.
Any idea who it was?
No clue.
No.
It was an old email address I was using. I didn't have.
It's the guy who created Days of the Dead. That's who it is.
Well, I always imagine one day I'd hear from whoever it was. Like, man, that was me. And no, nothing.
Dude, that's awesome. The mic drop. And you probably have. I mean, beyond the magazine and the website and everything, I have so many Horrorhound shirts, it's ridiculous. From every time I visit, I have to get the shirt no matter what. And in the magazine, like, when did that launch exactly? Like, the first issue was.
It was funny. I had just started dating my now wife, Jessica, in 2005. I met her the weekend after her birthday, which is in April, and we had the first issue out by the fall of that year.
Oh wow!
And I told her, I remember sitting down with her, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this magazine thing. I asked Aaron if he wanted, I was like, I can only do it if Aaron's in, and I can only do it if Jessica's in. We hadn't even been dating that long, but I knew, like, I had this job at a publishing company, and even I took it to my boss at the time, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this magazine. It's my own thing. Are you cool with it? And he's like, yeah. But he was a very kind of bitter person, and I had this feeling that I don't think he's going to be happy with it.
Right.
He says he's fine with it, but I don't think he's going to. In fact, his own son started a side project magazine. He worked at the same company, and he left soon after that. And I just had this weird feeling. So I sat down with Jessica, and I said, if I do this and I end up losing my job for it, can I move in with you? And she's like, yeah, I'll take care of you. And I was like, all right, then I'm gonna do it.
How long was the pause between the answer and the question?
I don't think it was long enough to make me think this. But yeah, we were making the magazine by July.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
It was supposed to be out in time for Halloween, but because what I was worried about happened, my boss eventually sat me down and said, "Pick, it's this or this," because he felt like I wasn't giving it my all at the company, even though I wasn't working on, Horrorhound while I was working on my day job, but he was upset, and that happened on Halloween, the day after Halloween. So yeah, from that moment on, it's been all Horrorhound.
That's awesome.
That was 2005.
You had
Cool.
Ed Repka. Ed Repka did the covers for the first issue, right?
He did.
Is that Ed? How did that happen? How did that?
We were friends.
I know you're making
we went. Yeah, Aaron and I. We both were working with Tomer, and I was the editor at Action Figure Digest, and I convinced my boss to allow us to go down to New Jersey to visit with McFarlane and NECA and the Four Horsemen, because they were all in the same area. Four Horsemen were doing the He-Man stuff for Mattel, or they eventually did the He-Man stuff, but those are three big studios down there. So we went down there, and when we went and visited with NECA, we didn't know that Ed Repka worked for NECA. He was doing figure design and product design and stuff. And Aaron, being a huge Megadeth fan, he knew exactly who he was, and they became good friends. So by time we ended up doing the magazine, we had actually planned on having a different cover. We were trying to work with Dynamite. We thought we were going to put a Army of Darkness cover on the first issue, in conjunction with Dynamite Entertainment and their comic book and stuff. But something went wrong, and we had to scramble to figure out the cover. And Aaron just asked Ed, "Hey, do you have anything sitting around that we can use?" And Ed had 4, I believe they were Misfits prints, but they were all Universal monsters. He had done them as like concepts for prints for some Misfits concerts, and they never got used, and they weren't even colored or anything like that. And he sent them to us, and there was a Creature from the Black Lagoon that I absolutely loved and wanted to put on the first issue, but Aaron was like, "We got to put the wolf on the cover. It's Horrorhound." Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ed colored it for us, and he just said, "I'll let you guys have it, but every year you have to hire me for a cover."
No deal.
Yeah. So that turned into more of a. I think the rule now is anytime we do an icon, a modern icon, he has to do the cover, and we've mostly kept to that deal. There were a couple times I think he expected to get like Pinhead, or I forget. There were a couple ones.
This is the cover. Just to show anybody who didn't know, this is the very first issue.
Didn't he? Didn't he redo that cover as a painting like his normal?
Yeah, I wanted him to do it for the 50th issue, and I got that idea from Wizard magazine. Wizard would always put that Spider-Man in the Wizard outfit on their anniversary covers. They would get a different artist to do it, and I thought it would be fun to have Ed do an actual painting of it instead of just a hand-drawn line art. When we get to issue 100, I may do it again, but I don't know how to handle that one.
Because you guys are really close too, aren't you?
We're 12 issues away.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate to say it, it's been a while since I've gotten one, but finding magazines in my parts, I would have to get a subscription, which I've said I'm going to do since like 2008, but I never did for some reason. But one of my favorite things I wanted to ask you about was, how did you get Sean Clark to do Horror's Hollow Grounds in the book?
Sean was working for I forget what it was. It became Dread Central, and so Sean, I read that comment. Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool.
I loved Horror's Hollow Grounds as an online.
Yeah, when he's doing it, it was on his website or something like that.
I think it was the Horror Channel.
Yeah. It became
Dread Central, I believe. if I'm correct. But I knew Sky John. Sky John. He and I crossed paths in the toy industry because my background's in the toy industry prior to Horrorhound. And I was at the New York
Arts, yeah.
Yeah, I was at the New or San Diego Comic-Con. It was probably in 2006. And I was at the Gentle Giant party, which was always, one of the fun parties for the industry, for the action figure industry. And I ran into this buddy of mine, and I knew he was writing for Dread Central. And I asked him if I said, "Hey, who's that guy who does those Horrors Hollow Grounds things?" And he says, "Sean Clark." And I said, "Can you introduce him to me? Like, I'd like to talk to him about putting it in the magazine." He's like, "Oh, he's over there." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And I went over and introduced myself to him. And he didn't seem to give a shit. And I was pitching him the idea of doing it in the magazine. And I remember him like laying on there was this little bed chair thing on the rooftop bar. And he's like, "Cool. Yeah, sure." And I gave him a copy of the magazine, and he's like, "Thanks." And I ran into him oddly at the Comic-Con. We ran into each other just walking by, which if you've ever been to San Diego Comic-Con, the idea of just running into someone in the hall is ridiculous. And I ran into him, and it was really funny because he's like, "I already had this magazine." I'm like, what? And he's like, "I have it." I didn't realize he was at Cinema Wasteland when we had a booth, and I had given him a copy at Wasteland. And but we were wanting to get out of Wasteland. Like we were finished for the weekend, and we had a stack of magazines, and we were just like, I don't even want to sell them. And Aaron, I think it was Aaron, ran around and just gave copies to people at vendor booths just to get rid of them real quick.
Show was there for that.
And Sean just happened to get one. And so Sean's like, "Oh, I love this magazine."
Yeah.
He's like, "I totally want to do it." And so we started doing the articles because of that. And we hadn't even started doing conventions, and I don't even know if he was really heavily in the managing people by that point.
Yeah, I was surprised, like when I finally got to meet Sean, because I've been following his since he's done Horrors Hollow Grounds, seeing the videos and stuff, and that was like, other than the covers, because you guys always have great covers. Like I never was a fan of. I was a fan of Fangoria, but never a fan of the way they laid out their covers. And you guys put original art on there, and that's probably how I saw Nate's stuff, not Sleepaway Camp like I thought. But that was one of the things I always went to right away after I saw the first one, was at the back of the book. Horrors Hollow Grounds would be back there, and because that's one of my favorite things to see is where they film stuff. Because I live near St. Louis, and I've been on the Escape from New York tour, by the way, Seth. A few times, because that's like the only movie that's ever been filmed here, apparently, other than some movie called Meet Bill with I don't know, Jessica Alba or something. But yeah, that was one of my favorite things, because that's when Nate went to LA a few years ago. He really upset me, sitting on where Jamie Lee Curtis sat, the Nightmare House, all that good stuff. I'm like, God damn it, I got to make it out there. That's like Mecca for me, is to see all this stuff. And Sean was doing what I wanted to do, and so that's one of the biggest reasons I continued to buy the magazine. Great articles. That the 6-page spreads when you did the retrospectives were awesome, and then Horrors Hollow Grounds is one of my favorite things in there too. So I was glad that this is the best horror magazine, in my opinion, not just because you're on. I've told Nate that before. My brother-in-law agrees with me, because we went when we were poor. He'd buy one, and I'd buy the next one, and we would just trade back and forth because we didn't have enough money to keep up, whatever it was. But
well, I could say that I agree with you, because I didn't just buy Horrorhound magazine that day at Borders. I bought a couple of them, and Nate's the only one I wrote. I wrote two. Really? It was so funny because I had never tried to get a job like that before, and I had no idea that it was just Nathan and Jeremy and Aaron like making this movie. Like, what did y'all? You only did like a small run in those first year, right? Like there were
like 3,000 for the first few issues.
Yeah, so like the first three. So I had no idea. So in my head, I'm like, oh, they must like be these big publishing moguls and New York. And then I looked and said Cincinnati. well, that's only 2 hours away. And I said, so I saw editor-in-chief, and I was like, all right, I'm just check, and I just wrote Nate and said, I just read your magazine. I fucking love it. It's one of the best magazines I've ever read. And I would love to do artwork for you. I'm an artist. And I remember I just talked about horror and my background. And you said we share a lot in common with our feelings on horror. And you said, we don't really have the money to have staff just yet, So he goes, but we're having a contest in issue 3. And you're more than welcome to enter that. And it was the Texas Chainsaw 2 issue, and it had to be a part two artwork. And I sent it in, and I ended up winning. And I remember the reward was I think it was going to be a custom made mask of Savini's Leatherface mask. You were doing an article about an artist or sculptor in the magazine, and the guy apparently flaked out or something that didn't deliver the mask or something.
Oh, that sucks.
All right. I want to go back and look at that.
Because you wrote me, you won, but the prize, we don't have it. So
this is not the show to air out your dirty laundry, Nate.
No. It's no. That's the thing. I didn't give a shit because I was just excited to be published.
So you're saying I owe you a Leatherface mask?
No. You sent me a bunch of Texas Chainsaw stuff, like a T-shirt and a poster signed by Mosley and Johnson. And so, but the thing is, all I cared about was I was getting published in your magazine.
Yeah.
And it was literally that big. It was it was like a business card printing of my artwork, but I still didn't give a shit. I bought 3 issues, which I think the issue is worth a lot of money now, right? The third one, was really popular. People want that one.
Yeah.
It was only 3,000.
Pretty crazy. I've been doing this thing where I've been going back to the back issues. We put out a special edition of the first issue. It was like an anniversary edition. That's we wanted to reprint all of the non-news articles from that first issue, and the editing in the first issue is non-existent. I mean, it was atrocious to begin with. Back then, we didn't have any proof editors. Tomar, where I worked, we had a really good proof editor. So that was a learning curve for us. And so I've been going through and re-editing those early issues because I want to reprint them as best ofs, things like that. And I just had seen we had a fan letter from Devin Whitehead.
Devin Whitehead, who entered that contest as well. He told me that contest that I entered back he had entered it, and he told me that years later. Because I remember when he first did a cover, because he did that VHS cover for you, the Ghoulies.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember you said this kid turned this in in 3 days after you gave him the job, and
it was insane.
Yeah, and I said I love that guy. He gives a shit. He wanted to do it. I was like, I totally get that.
He does art for Scream Factory too, doesn't he?
He's
done.
He's done a few. He does a lot of cavity color stuff.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
But that was funny to me when I couldn't remember that he had submitted art back then, and I was like, jeez.
Yeah, people just like Sean Clark was big league in you.
Yeah, like you said, it's like one of those things where this guy's taking off. I almost met Devin in LA when I was out there because my wife and I went out there for our anniversary, and we were walking downtown by the Chinese theater, just because that was our going down there, and it just so happens Halloween was premiering there, the new one, the last one, and so we're walking down the street. We're gonna go over to this little place. And all of a sudden, people are just going ape shit. And Jamie Lee Curtis is walking down the street, shaking hands and signing, everybody. And I'm like, oh shit, there's Jamie. And all of a sudden, I see Devin Whitehead just zoom past me, chasing her, because he's a big, all he does is get autographs and pictures. If you follow Devin, it's just like he must just live at the airport getting photos with everybody. And I just see him, so I just go on Facebook. I say, dude, I just saw you just ran past me. I said, hi. He's gone.
When we did the Halloween 40 convention in Pasadena a couple years ago, he was there, and him and his buddy Jeremy, they come grab me. They're like, Nate, come out here, because they know I'm a big Gremlins fan. Yeah. And they're like, I go outside and they're screaming across the hall, there's this big atrium area outside, and they were filming America's Got Talent across the way, and Howie Mandel was outside, and they got so Devin and Jeremy are getting Howie Mandel to come over just to say hi to me, and I'm like, hi. They get such a kick out of it, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can see the grin. You know, there's that big wall of hair because he's got that long black hair and the beard, and to see that big grin, he's like just running for Jamie. And
actually, the first time I ever met him, he stopped me. I was walking around the back side of San Diego Comic-Con, where the limos pull up and behind. It's just a shortcut area. And I was walking back there, and someone was yelling my name, and it was him. He recognized me online, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Devin, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's sitting with a lawn chair with a bunch of boxes. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, "Just waiting for people."
I knew that's what he does. I'm like, every time I see him, like, "How are you meeting?"
But how do you know who you're gonna meet? And he's like, "Well, I got a bunch of stuff ready." That's too much pressure.
Oh man! Well, talking about Jamie Lee Curtis, we got to mention that. I mean, Horrorhound hosted her only horror convention,
2012, wasn't it?
2012, and that was just such an amazing show to be a part of. I did get to meet her and get a photo with her. And, you know, can you talk a little bit about that one?
Well, I'll say this: you want to talk about the pandemic screwing stuff? I really think we were going to have her at Indy last year.
Oh, damn.
The Halloween Kills coming out. I thought it was going to happen. We'll never know.
Maybe when Halloween Ends comes out next year, you can get her at Indy. Make it Indy, though.
I mean, you saw more of her at the show than I did. I mean, I sat in there waiting to get my photo op, but just watching her with the fans and the dedication, the entertainment, and I remember was her brother-in-law was with her, like filming?
Her sister and her brother-in-law, yeah.
Yeah. So I talked to her brother-in-law, and he was saying that she's been like that forever. She just takes care of everybody, and she just has endless energy.
She is the most...
It's Activia that gives her the energy.
Yeah. She gives no shits. She'll tell you exactly how she feels. It's straight to the point, 100%. She said she agreed to do it. She and any other celebrity, any other guest, you'd be questioning it, and we questioned it all the way to the very end. And when we went to pick her up at the airport, I wasn't picking her up. I was just greeting her because I just wanted to greet her there. And I don't go to the airport to greet very many people.
Sean was there. Sean Clark, right?
Yeah, Sean was there, and she had one. I'll get to the rule. But I didn't think she was getting off that plane. I truly didn't. She wouldn't let us buy her flight. She
Really?
said for charity, she's going to buy her own flight. Well,
what an amazing person. Jeez.
Yeah. So, but the problem with that is I don't have her flight. And
so you're like Devin waiting outside with boxes.
Like, maybe we might.
Yeah, like the first time when we had Clive Barker didn't get off the plane. We called the airline. We're like, did he get on the plane? And they're like, yes. Okay, good. He fell asleep on the plane. They didn't know what was going on. He was just late coming out of the gate. No big deal. It happens. But we had the control of calling and saying, did he get on? And they said, yeah. Well, we couldn't even do that with Jamie. So she bought her own flight. So we're at the airport, and I saw there was like a, I'm not technically religious, but there was a little church in the airport, and I went in there and said a prayer.
May as well, right?
Please let her get off this plane, please. And she gets off the plane, and she had one rule. When she got picked up, she didn't want a limo.
Really?
And when we got the car service to pick her up, because we had to get her a car service, the car service, we told them no limo, and they sent the limo.
Oh, jeez.
And she was so upset. But, outside of that little hiccup, She never got another limo. But yeah, she paid for her hotel. She paid for her food. She paid for everything. She just wanted the money for the charity. When the show was over with, the check was written directly to the charity, and
that's great.
She was extreme. Like we've had nice guests, and I feel like it's a disservice to people like Scott Wilson, who's the biggest sweetheart in the world, or people like Robert Englund who bend over backwards for you. But it'll be hard to ever beat her as like the best person to have at a show. Like she just absolutely was the coolest.
The great thing is that pretty much, it's probably not all of it, but there's the documentary on that Halloween set that Scream Factory released documents a lot of that whole weekend with her, which is, I mean, I didn't get to go, but I got to see it through that, which was really awesome. You get to see a side of Jamie Lee Curtis you didn't know really existed, because she's a star. She's almost an A-lister, I guess, right? I don't know how that list works. But, is she the biggest like star? Is there somebody you have never been able to get that you've wanted to get?
We almost had Kurt Russell.
Oh shit!
I remember that.
No, that I'm not into guys or anything, but that made my heart flutter for a second.
Well, one thing before we jump off Jamie, you told me something about her that she at one point said something to you like, "I wish we had time to talk and hang out because she felt like she wanted to spend time with you." Or something. Yeah,
I could go up to her room and hang out a little. The problem was the way that the show was. I'll tell this. This is a really stupid story, but I don't think I've ever told this story to anyone. Anyone who was at that show, she signed for a long time.
Yeah,
a long time. Like we had to push back her Q&A panel. She literally finished signing, got on a plane. Like any other celebrity would have told us to go screw ourselves. You would question why she was signing so hectic. So like just absolute run ragged. We develop all of our own software, our own website, all the back end stuff, our own ticketing. And for that event, there was a little technical goof. We were limiting, I believe it was 2 autographs per person, and that was the limit. And we set how many autographs total she said she would sign, and based on the amount of time that she was going to be there, we figured it out. We do dumb things like I'll pretend like I'm talking to a fan sometimes when we're talking about a celebrity. I'll try to put myself in their heads. Like, oh yeah, that Robert Englund likes to talk. So I'll do like, how you doing? Oh, that's great. Blah 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 blah, and I'll time it. And I was like, oh really? No, great. Yeah, let's take a photo. Oh, that's great. Here, yeah. What's your name? And we'll time it. And I used to do this a lot. Back then, I did it a lot. And for Jamie, we kind of figured it out. We're like, oh, we know how many we're going to do. So we set it 2 per person. And how X number of autographs. But what we forgot was that on the back end we had it set for 2 per person. But when people bought 2 autographs, it didn't take 2 out of the stock. If we said she could sign 600 autographs, it stopped it at 600 transactions, not 600 autographs.
Oh.
So we actually sold 1,200 autographs. Oh. When we found out why she wasn't getting through the line fast enough, we had to do a lot of work that first day. And when we found out, we went to her and told her because we wanted to know what to do. Like, what do we have to do? We'll refund them, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, how much money did the charity make because of this screw up? we told her because it meant a lot more money for the charity. And she's like, let's just get through it. I'll be here first thing in the morning. I won't take bathroom breaks. Let's just do it. We gotta save that money.
Wow.
So yeah, because of that, we didn't get a whole lot of hanging out time.
Yeah, and that's funny when you mentioned that. I wanted to ask after you said that, like Robert Englund, he does like to talk. Is that why in 2018, you couldn't take a picture with him at the booth at his table. You had to, you know what I'm saying? He could only sign and basically move on, because I didn't even bother because the line was so damn long, because I wanted to meet him and get a picture with him, and then I had to go through the 2-step process. I didn't want to. Is that because he talks so much, or is it because so many people go through his line?
Yeah, I don't think it's definitely not a us thing. It's more of an overall appearance thing.
Yeah.
Rob and I've been there when that first started to happen with the photographs and stuff got kind of axed. He wants to spend time with the fans. He just wants to. Right. But he knows that there are fans not getting to meet him. So he's in his own little double-edged sword, like what do you do if everyone wants to meet you, but you want to give everyone the most amount of time? Mm-hmm. There was just a moment where it was, well, if we cut out the autographs, we could probably move more people through to get to meet you, because he doesn't want to not give them his time. Yeah. So the photograph thing was more of a, it was I don't want to take that away from them, but there are too many people not getting to meet me. And he felt bad about that, because we had him the first time we had him. Oh, there were people upset they didn't get to meet him, and he got to see it. And I can't imagine what it must, what it must go through when you have to get on a plane and there are people that are still outside. Just they want that autograph. They want that little moment.
Yeah, I get it. Luckily for me, that show they had, my dream girl Lisa Wilcox was there and Amanda Wiss, so I was okay. I almost had a heart attack when I met both of them, but that's all right. Yeah. So, can you any idea who's coming in September?
Yeah. Now that we're confident we're doing the show. The issue is we were a week away from the March 2020 event, which meant all of our money was already tied up in that event. So the goal is to use the flight vouchers, use the money that we had already paid, and all those guests. We had a lot of guests. So yeah, the first step has been reaching out to every manager and every celebrity, and can they do it? Are they getting vaccinated? I don't want someone to commit to doing the show if they're still on the fence with the pandemic. Like, I don't plan on canceling anything at this stage, again, unless flying monkey stuff happens. So we've been reaching out one at a time. And yesterday, I can tell you right now, the first two that confirmed were Billy and Lisa Zane.
Lisa Zane, oh, I love her.
Robert England confirmed. He was good to go, so that was a relief.
So you're trying to get me to come up to Cincinnati then?
Yeah. all the Elm Street people. I don't know if I have my. I'll see if I have a list here. I actually have a list I've been working on. Jason Mewes, Michael Rooker. He just wanted to come. He wants to get back to shows, and he. I feel dumb saying this. He loves Horrorhound. And I love the fact that he tells us that he loves Horrorhound. He stopped doing shows pretty much until 2012. I want to say it was. We convinced him to come do our show, and he just from my understanding, he hated doing them. And when he did the 2012 Cincinnati show, he had such a blast. That's if you're Facebook friends with me, if you ever dig into my photos and find a photo of us lifting Rooker or trying to lift Rooker off the ground, and he's hula hooping. He had such a great time. He does shows today, he says, because he had such a good time at that event. So
he was at the 2016.
That was
he was having fun.
Yeah, the 2012 one's one I met him at.
Yeah, he was a blast.
Yeah.
And so he confirmed. He was like, if you guys are on, I'll be there. Like,
nice. That's awesome.
You've got a couple of regulars like it. Like you got an open door to Savini, right? Like if anytime he wanted to be there.
He seems like he's been the last 4 or 5.
All he has to do is ask.
Yeah.
I forget to ask. I'm kind of a jerk in that regard.
Well, is it only when there's Mask Fest? Is that when because I know Indianapolis has Mask Fest, and he seems to always be there when that's going on, and that's all. It seems like it's always at Indy.
He likes buying all the masks.
That really? Wow.
Jeff Anderson from Clerks.
Nice.
He's on board. Jason Mewes.
Yeah, he was the one that was at when you canceled for COVID. I was I had been waiting to meet Jeff Anderson since '94, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'll meet you in Cincy in September, Nate.
I think we were supposed to be his first convention ever, and if everything works out, I think he still is.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Will he do the Randall? No, probably not.
Let me see. Lisa Wilcox, Toy Newkirk, Brooke Thies.
Cool.
Tuesday night.
Those are the two Dream Master cats I hadn't met yet. As Toy
I haven't met
and
those two
Brooke. Yeah.
Tony Cecere, his daughters who played the
jump rope girls.
Girls. I believe they're all good. And I think I got an email telling me Virginia and Madsen and Ted Raimi were good to go.
Virginia Madsen? Oh my God.
I believe so.
Sorry, I had a huge crush on her too. I had a crush on everyone.
Yeah. That's
Candyman's one of my favorite movies ever. So
yeah. So I'm going through the list. There's some people I haven't heard from back yet saying
I'm gonna end up in Cincinnati in frickin' September. I know it. I know it. I've been to Cincinnati since like 1990, but I'll go back. I guess.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I need a confirmation. I wanted Ethan's to play.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I haven't gotten his back yet, but yeah, I'm waiting on Ryan Hurst, Lou Diamond Phillips. I'm still waiting on Charles Fleischer.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, I can say the only people that 100%. See, this is sad. This is sad. My spreadsheet. I had Wilford Brimley on the list.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't think Sam Raimi's happening.
Not now.
He canceled before the pandemic anyway.
Yeah.
Mark
that Marvel money.
Yeah, Mark Dacascos is filming a movie, from my understanding, so I don't think he's going to be back. But other than that, I think Tony Todd and Keen Hodder may be out. I sent another email today, but not a lot of people have come back and said no yet. Most people have been coming back and saying yeah, and they're hungry. I've had a couple calls, and it's been very. I mean, this has impacted not only a lot of these celebrities is how they make money, but the managers. Everyone wants to go back to it.
Yeah, so, I mean, Sean Clark alone. I don't know very many promoters. I know Sean. I've met him at conventions, and of course, I followed his horror solid ground stuff. But I know he's got a lot of people that he has to depend on. I mean, he went into selling a lot of his banners and stuff last year during the pandemic, I guess, because
that was not a money issue for Sean.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, you know what? I heard he has a lot of money. Never mind.
No, but it's funny because I'm not sticking up for him in that regard. I thought it was funny because I've been to his house.
Yeah,
he needed to clear that shit out of his garage.
Oh, really? Well, every Sunday he was going on for 4 or 5 hours live, so just auctioning off, memorabilia from conventions, banners, and some of his own collection stuff that he had multiples of. Man, it's like,
no, he's a hoarder. He's a hoarder.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I thought it was forever. Yeah, I thought it was funny because he would normally be at a convention on the weekend, and it's like, why not just sell some of that stuff instead?
Yeah.
If you got nothing else, I mean, he's been doing a lot with Shot Factory, and his YouTube channel, the Malfunction, whatever. I don't know how it's spelled.
Malfunction.
He's been having fun with that. He's
putting his Horse Hollow Grounds on there. He's got the Thing with Two Heads podcast going. Yeah.
Yeah. I was very I'm not going to tell his stories for him, but his stories about the getting the Fast Times Hollywood Hollows Grounds.
I just watched that one, yeah.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance, ask him about that.
I want to get him on the show eventually. I really like Sean. He's a cool guy, and I like what he does. I like what any of us, like you, and I created the Horror Syndicate as an online way to do a magazine. It's not really a magazine, but I have been wanting to write reviews and my opinions about movies for years, and they're not negative opinions because I like just about everything except for Mandy, unfortunately, right, Nate?
And me and Nate are together on that one.
I'm the only person who didn't.
He's got a cheddar.
I got the goblin.
He's got the cheddar goblin.
The cheddar goblin. Look. It took me 3 times to enjoy The Witch, so maybe the third time I'll like it. I go to every time I go to Walmart, they have it sitting there on Blu-ray for like $5. I'm like, should I?
They do. I was at Walmart and they had it in that bin. I was like, what is in the bin? It should be on the
It should be up on the top shelf for $30.
Okay, so last year we were like getting down and dirty into these movies, like breaking them down. Nate loves doing that. So we did Mandy, and he was all hyped about that, and I'm not really that big of a fan. But we liked also The Void. Did you like that one? No? Oh my god! I love that movie.
I thought it was so boring.
Really?
I was the only one that was like,
Yeah.
I had one of my writers, JK. He loves The Void, and he wanted to interview the director for his next film. I was like, fuck that.
No, really?
No, I think we did. I think we did, but that was my first reaction. I'm like, you ain't selling it. You ain't selling it. Pitch it again.
I don't know. It was honestly, when we started in 2016, that was one of the first big movies that we got, and maybe that has something to do with why I like it so much.
I gotta watch it again. I don't think the film itself was bad. And this is terrible. I didn't like the acting.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, but the other thing on the other side for us, and we see a lot of the deep indie stuff, like Justin Siemens' The Barn and The Sleeper, stuff like we see a lot of that stuff because they come to us and Volumes of Blood, right, Nate? Yeah. We see a lot of that stuff, and so The Void was a step up because we were getting screeners for all that stuff, and then we see The Void, we're like, this is a masterpiece compared to other stuff. No offense, Nate.
No,
Titanic was great. Okay.
Yeah, I wish I had their budget.
Right.
No, and I can see when you get into that, and then suddenly you get a Beyond the Gates, and you're like, this is a masterpiece, and it's like,
damn it, I like that movie too.
It was okay.
What about We're Still Here? Did you like that one? I'm a slut for Barbara Crampton, just for the record.
I thought that was so far other than Mandy, that's the best one that's been mentioned. I liked it. It was okay. I don't know. Some of these films, they get rave. I feel like there's a drought that sometimes happens with hardcore horror fans where they don't get to see anything that good for a long time.
Right.
And then something like a Autopsy of Jane Doe comes out, and you think it's a 10-star film, and it's like it's a 6-star film. Any other year, but
in hindsight, you kind of go, I was a little too excited about that.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
I like that. What about The Babadook?
Oh, I love The Babadook.
Okay. You know what? Would you want to come on the show and talk about one movie with us sometime?
Yeah.
That's what we normally do. And I'd love to get you to come on and talk about any movie that you pick.
Real quick. I got to see a studio sent me a screener of Babadook in advance because they were trying to get us to do coverage of it. And I was already hearing buzz about it. And so I watched it, and it just floored me.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because my wife hasn't seen it, and I have the limited edition pop-up book that they sold online, and I have a bunch, and I was so into that, and I've never made her watch it because it's too emotional for me to even go through again.
Yeah.
So after I watched it, they asked if I wanted to interview Jennifer Kent, the director, and normally I don't really care about doing interviews and stuff like that. I'll do them sometimes, but I try to pawn them off on other people. And they asked if we wanted to interview Jennifer Kent, and I was like, absolutely, 100%. And I got to sit there and talk to her about the intricacies of the using the film as a parallel to depression and those feelings. And I had lost my sister to cancer, just not that far ahead of the film being released. So I was going through some really dark stuff at the time, and that movie that landed with me in a very personal way. And to talk to her and find out my takeaway from the film and its emotional comparatives to what she was trying to tell as a story was, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't projecting. I actually got it, and the way that she had intended, and it was such a delightful discussion with her to find out that I wasn't insane.
Well, it's funny you say that because I think that's the problem with that movie with people, and people don't get it. I loved it the first time I saw. I made fun of it a lot when I saw the title. Every time we'd be on Netflix, because on Netflix for a while, I was like, "What the fuck is this? The Babadook?" Come on, man. My wife would make fun of it, and then we watched, like, holy shit. Wow, we shouldn't have made fun of that.
Yeah, it's like all anybody can pay attention to is that kid's so annoying. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. I mean,
and it's funny too, because I think people get so caught up in the kid being annoying that they don't even recognize that the kid's not annoying by the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a point too, and it was just like but then again, like it's I try to not get too stuck in the negativity, because like I watched the God Bless America.
Good movie.
Yeah. The one where the little girl, sticks her head out the window.
Oh, Hereditary.
God.
I did not like that movie. I saw it the wrong time. I saw it the wrong day. I saw it with the wrong audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never once really blamed anyone for not liking Babadook. I can get that if you don't get the context of it.
Yeah.
You can't make someone understand that.
No, I mean, we're all wired different. We all connect, because you said you had a personal experience with it. You were able to make that parallel, and that's the thing. You try to explain to people is like, look, you don't know where that person was when they came to it, or how they got to that art. But that's how art works. You walk down Artist Alley at a Horrorhound weekend, and you'll walk right past my booth and go to Joe Robinson. You'll walk right past Joe and go to, someone else, because it's like art just speaks to you personally on a different level than it does everybody else. That was
the scary part about doing the because I did the art for the new issue.
Mm-hmm.
This is not comfortable for me. I don't like my own art. I can recognize that it was good enough, but I put it out there. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That feeling is it's not comfortable. I don't know if you feel like that sometimes.
You always had those moments like, God, I suck. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to make that jump to put it out there, because you are going to get the people who don't like it and like will say, why did you hire this piece of shit artist? Or something, like that's what they'll say. I mean, you'll probably end up getting, I'm sure you get stuff like that, and they'll probably be shitting on your cover, and you'll be like, hey, I drew that.
Yeah, it's when someone actually shits on it that I'll finally defend it. Like, no, screw you.
Yeah. So you kind of have to just kind of say, all right, here it is. I hope you like it. If you don't, whatever. But somebody will. And I've gotten to where, because in the beginning I really did pay attention to it, and it hurts. It bothers you. But I got to the point where, like, you listen to enough professionals who say don't read anything, good or bad, and you start going, they make a lot of sense.
There's a point
with the conventions, I mean, all the shit you all guys get, I'm sure the point you got to, like, I guess, turn this off and not even look at it anymore. Just do my best job. That's all you can do. I can do my best, and hope they like it.
To go back though, I didn't like Hereditary, which made me stay away from Midsummer. We finally watched it. It was on Amazon Prime or something. Jessica and I put it on. I was like 30 minutes in. I was like, this is the best movie of the year. Why didn't I watch it when it came out?
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. We covered that one too. Well, we're gonna wrap up. Nate's got to bounce here in a minute. Man, thanks for coming on in such short notice. This is a lot of fun.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very excited that Horrorhound seems to be doing well, and we're going to get back to conventions very soon. Do you want to promote Horrorhound like you need to? But
well, I would very much urge anyone. As I mentioned earlier, the pandemic made us kind of pivot how we're doing the magazine. We've changed a when you pick up the issue, I mean, seriously, like this Castlevania, it's only going to be on shelves for a couple more days at some places.
I have to find that one. Castlevania is one of my all-time favorites. So it's probably my favorite issue. I would almost say it's probably my favorite issue we've ever done from a theme standpoint. It's got, unless I screwed up somewhere, I haven't been called out on it yet, but the every single horror movie video game ever produced is in here. All the Castlevania stuff, the old arcade or the PC stuff. I mean, even I was working on this. Rondo of Blood.
Yeah, they did. Warlock got a game on Sega Genesis.
The movie?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm like, that's probably my biggest discovery. I was like, it was on Sega Genesis.
That's bizarre.
But as far as theming, this was the first one that it was our post-pandemic theming. And then the next one, the VHS, we had Critters, Anchor Bay, Video Invasion. Like the next one I'm working on right now, I am beyond excited to put this one out. It's Horrorhound's Guide to Summer Fun.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to do something so stupid. If you ever have local in Cincinnati, we have City Beat, which is a local entertainment weekly. It just tells you all the stuff going on in the city during the week. City Beat may be out of business after this last year. I don't know. But every summer you get this summer, beers, buds, and fun issue. Whatever. I don't know what that means. But you would get it, and it would tell you all the festivals going on, all the everything that you can do, all the bars, all the special things. And I wanted to do that for a horror magazine. I just thought it was such a silly idea, and so it's a guide of North America, all the places to go for vacation, all the places to go that are horror themed bars, all the horror themed breweries that are doing beers, all the stuff from like the Texas Chainsaw Barbecue B&B or the Buffalo Bill Bed and Breakfast, like just going through and doing everything. And we're doing a Hatchet retrospective for that issue because why not? But these issues, it's the horrorhound.com. I don't know how many bookstores are left, but I would hate for people not to check these issues out because these are a nice pivot, and we have some great theming coming up beyond that. But on top of that, I have a book coming out, Halftone Horrors, halftonehorrors.com. It's up for pre-sale. Horrorhound the comic book's coming out finally. Nate I got to still talk to you about doing that cover.
Oh yeah, I got to owe you a cover. Yeah, I got one. I'm on board for it.
I saw something you sent to someone the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, that could be a cover."
Oh, the tattoo I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, "That's good."
I'm glad you saw it. Yeah, because Michael's writing for you guys now, right? Or he's done some writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah, he has. In the VHS issue, he did an interview with the guys from Evian Press, who do it's VHS theme. So we thought that was the appropriate. They do comics.
Sean Lewis and
yeah.
I just talked to Sean earlier today. Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a strange guy, but he's a good dude. Like if you follow him on Facebook, some of the stuff he says is strange, but I was missing Zombie issue number 6 because they sold out, and he found me a copy and he's like, "Here you go, man." You're awesome. So yeah, I want to write for him, comics wise. So thanks for anything else you want to pump. Go ahead. Hey, is that a Ghoulies toilet monster behind you? By the way,
yeah.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
That's actually in the Critters issue as part of our promo article that we did.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was Nate. Landon Lee gave that to me as a gift.
Oh man, yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
That's somebody we've lost in this time period.
This last year, yeah.
I remember seeing him. I met him at your show, and just anybody knew Landon. He had the Devin Whitehead pack of stuff. You had to wait behind him, and he just loved this stuff. And he's a good guy.
Someone pointed at him at one of our shows, and they're like, "That guy got a Friday 13th trading card set signed by Kane Hodder." I'm like, how do you do that? And he's like, he literally got every card signed. He came.
Oh my
I'm
god!
like, he paid for that? He goes, yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna go talk to him. I want to be his friend.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say before we head out? We're getting ready to head out here in like 1 minute.
No, just appreciate it. Horrorhound.com, halftonehorrors.com, and September 10th through the 12th, Horrorhound Cincinnati.
You can still subscribe to the magazine too, right? Yeah.
Yes. In fact, thanks to the pandemic making us extremely aware of how bad our postal service is, we've had to make some edits. We've never changed our pricing ever in 15 years. We have no buffer for the nonsense that's been going on with the post office and things like that. We just unfortunately had to make some changes. So in the next few issues, there will be a price increase. So if you wanted to subscribe to horrorhound.com and you want it at the insanely low, I think it's $34 for six issues delivered to your house, order it now at horrorhound.com before the price increase.
There you go. Awesome. So I'll go ahead and do that because I like cheaper stuff. But yeah, man, thanks again, Nate. Thanks for getting him on. This is fantastic. Hopefully, seriously, if you ever get a chance to come on again, I want you to pick a movie and we'll just go through that movie. Something you love, not something you hate.
Yeah.
So we won't do The Void.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, thank you so much,
man.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it.
Anyway, anybody who watched, thanks. Subscribe. Go check out horrorhound.com. If you don't know what Horrorhound is, you're insane. Go to the con in September. You might see me and Nathan there, and we're going to try to get Seth's ass there eventually, right, Seth?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, you guys have a good evening, and we will talk to you next Thursday with something. I don't know what.
Night.